el exec, el exec. El Vélez. El fenómeno que todos quieren ser. El chamaquito que no pueden entender.
How we doing, guys? How we doing? Welcome to episode 74 of El Boricua y el Parcero podcast. I am your host, El Velez, El Boricua. How are we doing today? Little rundown of what we're going to talk about today. Of course, we are going to predict the divisional round. We're gonna completely go in depth, break down the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. We're gonna start though. We're gonna talk about a little about NBA, including the Pascal Siakam trade, and that the Lakers finally made an adjustment to the lineup that has been paying dividends at least in the last 2 to 3 games. We're also going to talk about the coaches that have decided that teams have decided to come back. And also a little some news about possibly what the Bears are going to do with the draft. But yeah, let's get right into it. So, coach is coming back. Sirianni's coming back for the Eagles. This is how it was announced, basically, by Mr. Fletcher Cox himself. It was absolutely hilarious, and also, besides hilarious, it was also kind of informative. Like, why would you ask this question for a coach that has been to the playoffs 3 years in a row, been to a Super Bowl last year? Was a disappointment this year, but there was definitely some trouble with the there was some trouble with the coordinators. You lose Shane Steichen, you lose Rich Gannon, you're gonna have some trouble because those are two good coaches right now. I think Rich Gannon will be a good coach for Arizona, and we've seen what Shane Steichen has done even with Gardner Minshew when he lost Anthony Richardson. So this is what Fletcher Cox. It's debatable whether he's a future Hall of Famer. He is a Super Bowl champ, lifelong Eagle. I personally think that he should get the nod. It's been 14 years. The sack numbers probably don't get to 100. I don't know if he comes back. He doesn't know either. But this is Fletcher Cox on whether Nick Sirianni will come back as coach or not.
Gotten any wind on what's going to happen with Nick, and you have confidence in if you do come back, that confidence in him if he's also the head coach.
Like any news about what about Nick?
Nick, I mean, there's obviously some speculation about whether he may be fired or not.
Huh?
Yeah.
Come on, man. No, man, he head football coach of this team, man. Come on, man. There ain't even no discussion about that.
Yeah, okay. You don't think it's going to happen?
Like, I don't got nothing to say about that, man. You're a clown, bro. Get out of my face, bro.
Fletcher Cox just plain and simple, clean as day, but that shows that the chemistry within the locker room, the message hasn't gotten dull, hasn't gotten stale. It's not Sirianni. They've talked about, needing some coordinator help. They're going to definitely search out for new coordinators on both sides of the ball. So maybe they can get back to that explosive offense and that really, really menacing defense that we've seen the last 2 years before Rich Gannon and Shane Steichen left. So we'll see what happens there. What I believe is a mistake by the Cowboys. They are bringing back Mr. 3 seasons at 12, but one and done. And this year it wasn't even one and done. This year it was 0 and done. Mike McCarthy back for the Cowboys. Jerry, you're 82 years old, bro. 82. If there is any reason why you should go out and try to go get a Bill Belichick, you went out to go talk to him. I think like you have a good relationship with him, and we'll talk about Belichick in a little bit. But why? Why wouldn't you try to go get a more futuristic offensive mind? You still run the Texas Coast offense that Mike McCarthy likes to call it, where You run triple slants on a 4th and 2 and get picked off, but for a pick 6 because you're predictable on tape. I don't understand. I don't understand why Mike McCarthy has to be the guy that, this team has to die on. And, to me, it's going to lead to the same thing. I think, I think it's basically doing the same thing, expecting the same results after you've seen it 4 years in a row, or 3 years in a row. So, and this team has done it 6 years in a row with different coaches. So, I don't know what they want to do. I honestly don't think Dak is the answer for a Super Bowl quarterback. It's kind of like Phillip Rivers' problem, like really good in the regular season, and then poof, in the playoffs, just doesn't have what it takes to take you there, to take you to that ring, to take you to the promised land. And once he faces either a better coach, like a Matt LaFleur, like he did, speaking of Mike McCarthy, and, I think that at this point, Jordan Love is better than Dak Prescott, if I'm being honest. Their offense is completely predictable at this point. It's CeeDee Lamb or nothing. If they can't get CeeDee Lamb 15 targets, their offense doesn't move. They can't run the ball. They don't look for... they look for Jake Ferguson, but, they don't see... they don't look... They look for Jake Ferguson. They didn't use Brandon Cooks for a long time, like 6, 7, 8 games, and they had him on the roster, and they just didn't use him. They didn't throw to him. Took him to the second half of the season, start using him. Didn't use Michael Gallup even when he came back. And like I said, they can't run the ball. They got Tony Pollard. They got Rico Dowdle. They got rid of Ezekiel. You got Deuce Vaughn that you drafted, and you don't use them. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Mike McCarthy next year. If they don't win it next year, he is getting fired. If they don't make it to the NFC Championship next year, he will get fired. If it's one and done, he will get fired. Because why is Jerry at 83 next year gonna, just slam his face into a wall that has seen the result at that point would be 4 years in a row? So, I think it's a mistake. I think they should have turned elsewhere, more offensive based and more, modern offense. But we'll see what happens. Eberflus, back for the Bears. I don't know what they're doing. Now, we're going to get into some news, though, that might save him. Okay? That might save him. I understand, so when I first heard the news, I was like, it was a bad joke. Because to me, based on what the Bears have done the last 2 years, that man is out the door. But over the last 6-7 weeks, he's looked like, he brought him to 7-9, I believe. He's had Justin Fields play better and stuff like that. So, and the defense has been playing well after the Montez Sweat trade and stuff like that. But regardless of that, the big news for the Bears that I have here that Adam Schefter tweeted is that the Bears are, expected to interview Cliff Kingsbury, which was Caleb Williams' coach at USC. He was the senior offensive analyst this last year and his quarterbacks coach at USC. With Lincoln Riley, he was on Lincoln Riley's staff. So that tells me that they're not being stupid, which is, something the Bears usually do. So we laugh at them. But got to applaud them, because if they do this, if they hire Cliff, that means that they're for sure taking Caleb and they're trading Justin. And with everything else that's happening, especially in Atlanta, it's kind of looking like the picture's starting to look clear about if Justin's going to land in Atlanta and go back home. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I feel like it's a good move. If you're going to keep Eberflus, bring in Cliff, his quarterback's coach from college. He knows him. He was there. He's seen him play. He knows what he needs to get better at. Now, you're going to be a very air raidy offense. So, considering you have 2 first-round picks, I think that you should definitely go Caleb and another another basically what I call a superstar talent wide receiver, which you're right where you're going to pick. I believe they pick 9th. That they should, definitely go Caleb and then go Rome Odunze, or if somehow some way Malik Neighbors drops to that spot, take him, Keon Coleman. So I think that it's looking like the picture's looking clear. So if they do get as an OC Cliff, then I believe Eberflus can stay at the job and it won't be as terrible. But they have to drop Caleb if they are going to have him as an OC. Next guy that I thought was going to get canned, Dennis Allen for the Saints. I don't know why you wouldn't go Ben Johnson. I don't know why you wouldn't go, even if you want to stay defense. I don't know why you wouldn't go Raheem Morris of the Rams. I don't understand. I don't understand why you wouldn't just try to get more modern on the offensive side of the ball, especially with Chris Olave. I don't know what's going to happen with Michael Thomas. Maybe you have to draft another weapon, even though you got A.T. Perry and Rashid Shaheed. So your weapons are good, and Alvin. But, you can never have too many weapons. Jawan Johnson as well. Their defense has to get better. They're a little old everywhere, really, on the line, back end, and at linebacker. So I think that's where they're going to look in the draft. But keeping Dennis Allen, I guess, they fire everybody under the sun, including Mark Carmichael, which was the offensive coordinator, the last person that was there with Sean Payton for the 18 years that he was there. So, if they're looking for a new OC, then okay. And then you want to keep Dennis Allen because Dennis Allen has a good message and people resonate with him in the locker room. I get it, but you got to get the offense right because with as much talent as you guys have, you have to have a better record in that division. You faced Bryce Young, Baker Mayfield, Desmond Ridder, and Taylor Heineke, and you still couldn't win the division. So, I don't understand. Getting to probably the biggest news. Mike Tomlin, Steelers, he's staying. I kind of foresaw this happening unless he himself stepped down. He loves coaching this team. He was very disappointed, obviously, with the performance. But I think that his job next year, he's going to be on his last year of his contract. If they don't extend him, his job is going to be hang on the fact whether Kenny Pickett develops into a good, reliable starting quarterback, maybe a top 10. You want to be like a top 10 quarterback, then maybe you can save their season. Because look, it's not just the AFC, which is an absolute gauntlet, but in their own division, you're facing Joe Burrow and Lamar, who's going to win the MVP this year. Joe Burrow, if he's healthy, he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. And no matter how good your defense is, you are gonna, in the playoffs, even if you make it, you are gonna face a better quarterback on the other side. So I think that if Tomlin's gonna stay, it's gonna for the foreseeable future, it's gonna be based on the quarterback play of Kenny Pickett, or if they go out and go get somebody. They can go out and try to go get a Justin Fields. You never know. Because I don't think Kenny Pickett personally, he was a 3rd round grade. They took him 20th out of their backyard in Pittsburgh. They've seen him play for 4 years. And, if the last 2 years weren't enough evidence, I think that one more year and then you can definitely call it quits on that experiment. The next little topic here is Bill Belichick, right? Everybody was wondering, like, where's he going? And it was crickets for a while, and then Atlanta started popping up, and everybody's like, Atlanta? Why Atlanta? Like, they don't have a quarterback. Yes, they have talent, but no quarterback, suspect defense. They do have a solid offensive line, a good running game. But Atlanta, and yeah, it seems like Atlanta and Bill Belichick, they had their second interview today. He had an interview with Arthur Blank first. Now he met with senior executives. So it looks like Bill Belichick's next destination will be Atlanta. And that's what I say about Justin Fields. Like if his plan is to go get Justin Fields and bring him back home because the Bears are going to pick Caleb Williams at 1, then I could definitely understand why Bill Belichick would want to go there. He still needs a staff, especially on the offensive side of the ball. He'll get that defense right. I have no worries about that, to be honest. He will draft defensive players. They need them. But on the offensive side of the ball, it's all going to come down to who is going to be your quarterback. So if you can't go get Justin Fields, what are you going to do? Are you going to bring in a Tannehill? I don't think that Bill will want to have a mediocre quarterback at his new home when he just came from 3 years of mediocre quarterback play and absolute, shooting himself in the head, watching his offense play. So, interesting that he is meeting with Atlanta a second time. So it looks like he might be in Atlanta, but we don't know yet. Bill's a secretive person, so we don't know yet. Gerard Mayo is building his staff. Interesting things that he said in his opening press conference as the head coach of the Patriots. He will have a better relationship with the press, something that New England hasn't seen in over 25 years. 24 that Bill was there, obviously, but it would be 25 when Gerard Mayo officially starts talking to the media next year. So, we're going to get more news out of New England, which is finally a little peek-see into behind the curtain of the Patriots. I believe that they would have to go into a complete rebuild. They have nothing on the offensive side of the ball. They have nothing, remotely close at the quarterback position. Offensive line is kind of sus. The running back position, they only have Ramondre. Christian Gonzalez will come back next year. They have to re-sign some people if they want to keep that defense as good personnel-wise as it was. But overall, I think that Gerard Mayo needs to nail this quarterback position in the draft, and whether it's Drake May or Jaden Daniels that falls to him, I think that he cannot play with this pick. I believe Jaden Daniels is a good pick too. I would not like him to go to the Patriots. I want him to go to a place that he could at least have a coach that, I don't know, will let him be a quarterback at his level. But if Drake May is Josh Allen 2.0, I don't think he falls to 3. So, yeah, I think Gerard Mayo has to start with the quarterback and then move on from there on the offensive side of the ball. Make sure that he drafts really well, especially on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to offensive linemen and receivers, because he needs them badly. Dan Quinn will interview with the Seahawks and a couple more teams, but he could go back to Dallas if he doesn't get any jobs. I mean, it was a disappointing ending to his defense, but his defense has done really well the last few years in Dallas. But it was a very disappointing and kind of end to his, if it is going to be his last year being the DC of the Dallas Cowboys. Disappointing chapter to 3 years of some solid defensive production from a very, very good defensive staff and players as well. Moving on to the NBA, let's talk about this Pascal Siakam trade. So the Toronto Raptors send Pascal Siakam to the Indiana Pacers. And very interesting move for the Indiana Pacers because I feel like, this is a move like they want to win now. They have Tyrese. He's young. He's having a breakout season. They have an overall good team. They're fourth in the East right now, so they're playing well even with Tyrese hurt. Adding Pascal gives you another scoring option, like legit scoring option, so people can't just hang on to Tyrese and blitz him all the time and everything, especially at the top of the key and at the 3-point line. I think it'll open up their offense even more. Give you a defensive stopper at 6'9", 6'10", long. So you keep the defense, you improve the defense, but they send Bruce Brown and Jordan Nwora along with 3 first-round picks back to Toronto, and then New Orleans will also send Kyra Lewis to the Raptors as well as the third team in the deal. I'm guessing getting money off the books or sending a young player out in order to open up a little bit of a little bit of space for something in the future. But 3 first-round picks for the Toronto Raptors. Considering they're struggling right now, got to put something next to Scotty Barnes. Maybe they're starting to sell the farm. I think they should at this point. They already sold OG Anunoby to the Knicks. They moved Pascal, so I think it's going to be a tankish type of season. They're going to win some games, but at this point, I think that it's okay to say that the Toronto Raptors are gonna move on to the greener pastures and go younger. Grady Dick has finally gotten some playing time, at least in the last game. He made a 3, so that's what he's there for. He's supposed to be like a Jordan Hawkins type of player. He was actually slated to be a better shooter than Jordan Hawkins coming out of the draft, a better pure shooter. Jordan Hawkins is at the in New Orleans. At the Pelicans, he's a better scorer overall. Not because he can shoot on the catch, off the move, and everything. But he could also drive and get to and score from 2 and mid range and all that. So he's a better overall scorer. But Grady Dick was graded as the overall better outside shooter in last year's draft. So in this past year's draft, excuse me. So. Do I think that this puts the Indiana Pacers over the top? I think that possibly this gets them to the level around the 76ers. I don't think anybody gets to Giannis and Dame, and I don't think nobody gets to the Boston Celtics, in my opinion, just because of the amount of talent that they have even in their starting 5. However, for Indiana to compete, you have to have... your defense must be some type of good. So I'm talking about not top 5, but at least top 12 defensively. Because I think Pascal will help with that. But, at the same time, I think that it'll take a year for them to gel, and maybe next year they really, really go for it. But there's also moves that they're talking about that maybe they'll move Buddy Hield or Jaden Smith to get another starting level player. So we'll see. It looks like they're not staying put. Oh, my bad. They're 7th right now without Tyrese because he's hurt. But another thing I want to talk about before we get to the standings and do our usual run through. Lakers. The Lakers finally changed their starting lineup philosophy. Gotta give them credit. Got to give B-Ham credit. Probably saw that his job was, he was probably feeling a little bit of scared right there. He probably thought that his job was in jeopardy, so he was pulling out all the stops, and now he's starting, the most offensive lineup that he could possibly start with the roster he has, which is, you got Austin Reeves, D'Lo, LeBron, Torian Prince, and AD. And they've won games against OKC. They won games against Dallas with Luka in his first game back. So maybe he was a little rusty. They missed a bunch of threes that Dallas did. So we'll see what happens. I'm not saying that they're going to survive. They're 10th right now. I'm not saying that they're going to have an ultimate resurgence and get into the top 6, even though they're only 3 games back of the top 6 right now. You know, they're 9 games back of 1, but of 6, they're 3 because Sac is 6 back of Minnesota for 1. But you know how I feel about the Lakers, guys. They don't have the requisite amount of scoring, especially off the bench. And even though you have better first quarters, if your bench unit is getting absolutely demolished by everybody else's bench unit, it really doesn't, it doesn't culminate in anything in the end, because you're still going to be battling back. Even with your best lineup in the fourth quarter, you could be battling back from a lead of 15, 12, 20, depending on the team that you're facing. So, I think that the Lakers have found themselves a little breathing room, but I think that definitely they'll still look for improvements to be made, even though that their roster, they don't have much to give up besides D'Lo, Austin Reeves, and stuff like that. So we'll see what they do, but they're still 10th, and they're 500 on the dot. Definition of mid, 21, 20, and 21. If we look at the standings, 32-9, Boston, they're 20-0 at home. I believe that's a record. Still 7-3 in their last 10. Milwaukee's 4 back, so they kind of steadied the ship there and stopped sliding a little bit against Boston. They whooped them the last time. They destroyed them off the floor. Mazzulla didn't even play his starters in the second half. That was about a week ago. Unprecedented, because they were down 36 a half. Philly got Embiid back, another 40-piece. They're only 5 games back. They have Tyrese Maxey and Embiid now, so they should now go on a push, I would expect, now that it's not just Tyrese. Cleveland is making a little push, even though they have no Evan Mobley or Darius Garland. Donovan Mitchell has been on a tear, and they're 4th. They clawed themselves up from 7th. The Knicks are still there, 5. They'll be there all year. And then Miami, we're 6th, 8 games back. We lost yesterday. We're 5-5 in our last 10. Jimmy came back, but now Jaime's hurt. The timetable is it's a groin strain, so timetable for that is usually, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how bad the strain was. Then you got Indiana with no Tyrese right now. Basically gonna roll with Pascal and Benedict Mathurin and Buddy Hield to say, and Miles Turner to try to keep them afloat until Tyrese gets back. Orlando has fallen off; they're 8th, still in the play-in, but 10 back. They used to be 4th, but they're 3-7 in their last 10. Just not playing well. Paolo's playing great, but no Franz, I think, is the problem here. Even though they got Markelle back, but no Franz, he's hurt, and that's hurting him a lot in the scoring department. Chicago is still there with Zach LaVine. He's been playing well. So has Kobe White. They're 9th in the play-in, basically selling themselves that they can make it and do something. I still think they should blow it up and just keep Kobe White and then try to reform the team. But 5-5 in their last 10. I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about anybody getting traded, so we'll see what happens. Atlanta 17-23. DeJounte Murray is in trade talks. I believe Bogdan Bogdanovic is in trade talks. Trae Young came out with a little. They asked him if he would like to play with Victor Wembanyama. He said, yeah, that would be cool. So we'll see what happens there. As usual. The definition of mid is the Atlanta Hawks. Brooklyn is 11. Toronto just gave up Pascal, so I expect them to stay at the bottom the rest of the year. In in 12th or lower. Charlotte just got LaMelo back. I don't think that there's any way that they make it back into the race at this point. We're over half the season. They're 8-30, 1-9 in their last 10. 22 and a half games back of one, and then 22 and a half to 14 and a half. Talking about 9 games, 8 games to get to 10. I don't think that's happening. Washington sucks, and Detroit sucks. No Cade, they're 2-8. They beat the Wizards. I was surprised. Jaden Ivey's playing well from what I've seen. I think they should let Asar be more assertive. Marcus Sasser, I think that they should play him more. And like I said, just go young, trade Bogdanovich, and just go completely young and try to develop the young core that they have. In the Western Conference, Minnesota still won. Anthony Edwards is still balling. OKC is 2, and they have lost to the Lakers. And they're 6-4 in their last 10, but so is Minnesota, but they're 2 behind. So Minnesota has a little bit of breathing room. Denver is also 2 behind. They're also 6-4 in their last 10. So the top 3 are 6-4 in their last 10. Minnesota's on a 3-game winning streak. OKC has lost 2 in a row, and Denver just lost yesterday. So, I think that it's going to be tight, but I think Minnesota because of their defense, and I think Ant will take it to another level after All-Star break, just to try to get into the playoffs on all cylinders. Cat's playing well, Naz Reid, Gobert, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Mike Conley. Everybody's playing well on that team. Everybody's gelling, so I expect them to either be 1 or 2, to be honest, and no lower than that. The Clippers are still playing really well. They're 8-2 in their last 10. It's looking like this might be their best year, their best chance. With James Harden, with Paul George playing great, Kawhi playing great. Kawhi playing at an MVP level right now over this last stretch. Zubac is playing good with James Harden. Russell's playing great off the bench for that second unit, and Ty Lue is doing a masterful coaching job of managing all those monsters on one team. Well, do I think that they can get up to 1? I mean, they're only 3 games back. This is so close, especially 1 through 4. It's only 3 games. But at the same time, I think that OKC, Denver, and Minnesota just have a little bit more continuity between each other, and all I'm saying is because of James Harden, because Kawhi and PG have played together a lot over the last 3 years. But if PG starts playing close to OKC PG, where he was like almost 28 and 7 and 6 on crazy efficiency, then they'll definitely climb up. But right now, being 4th, I mean, it's pretty good for them. You got New Orleans. Zion's been playing great. Jordan Hawkins has been playing great. B.I. has not played the last few games, I believe. Neither has CJ. So it's been... Actually, no, CJ and B.I. played yesterday. So there was a couple games that they didn't play, and Jordan Hawkins went nuts. I believe that Jordan Hawkins will get more and more opportunities as the year goes on, and he will be a vital part of their playoff push. They're 5 games back. They could definitely get on a super run. I mean, they're 7-3 in their last 10. They can get on a super run, and it's all based on Zion. If Zion gets completely in shape and gets back to the year 1 or year 2 Zion, where it was like 27 on 65% true shooting, dishing out 6 assists, has to still work on his rebounds, but and his defense. But if he can get back in shape, I think that they can. That's a team that can roll. Sacramento, they're 5-5 in their last 10. Little slump. They're still 6. They're 6 games back, 1 game back of 5. So I think they're right there. So is Dallas. Dallas is also 6 games back in 7. They have Luka and Kyrie back. They have Luka back. from injury. Kyrie has been balling. They're 6-4 in their last 10. I expect that to get better because Luka's back. Phoenix has gotten a lot better with Bradley Beal coming back and the big three playing together. They're 22-18. They're 7 back. They can jump up the standings real quick if they go. They're 7-3 in their last 10. I expect those winning ways to keep going. They're playing really well, scoring a lot of points. And looking very efficient. They just beat the Sacramento Kings coming back from a 22-point deficit. It was insane with like 6 minutes left. It was crazy to see. It was all KD, basically, a legend. Utah, 9. I think that this team is going to keep playing well. They're 9-1 in their last 10. I believe that this team would just keep gelling around Laurie. The more they use Keontae George, JC's playing well. That's Jordan Clarkson. Colin Sexton's playing well. So I believe that, this Utah team, I don't think it'll make it to the top 6, even though they're only 8 back. And so that only puts them 2 back of 6. But they can go on a run and really just cement themselves in the play-in. I believe that team is that talented. The Lakers, like we said, 21-21, 9 games back, 4-6 in their last 10. They've won 2 in a row. Still have a negative differential by 1. But with that new lineup, we'll see what happens. New/old, because it's the old lineup, but they finally started using it again, so I guess it's new. Houston is 10 games back, 1 game back of the Lakers. This shit's going to keep flip-flopping all year. They're 4-6 in their last 10. Cam Whitmore is getting more playing time. I like that. He's showing out. They got Derek Brooks back, so we'll see if the defense starts getting relatively better from what it's been these past few weeks without Derek Brooks. But it's gonna be a bloodbath because you're basically going against from they're 11th and they're going against from they can if they have aspirations to make it high, they're only 5 games back of 5. So if you really want to shoot for that, but they're going to be in a battle with the Lakers, Utah, Phoenix, Dallas, even Sacramento at 6, to try to get into the dance. Golden State is 11 and back. They just lost an assistant coach at the age of 46. They postponed the last 2 games. They're 3-7 in their last 10. This team is relatively basically done. With Steph Curry slumping a little bit the last few games, they have no shot of winning. They need him to score 30 to even have a snowball's hell's chance to win a game, even against bad people. They lost against Memphis with no John Morant, no Desmond Bane. It was embarrassing to watch, to be honest. And Memphis is right under them. They're not going nowhere. No John Morant. Desmond Bane is hurt right now. Triple J just can't carry him all the way to anything, really. They're 14 games back of 1, 5 games back at 10. I think that's a little bit too much to ask. Portland, just got to get the young guys to keep playing more. Chris Murray's playing more. Scoot, I believe, figured out his shooting woes from the beginning of the season. He was just blind. He didn't know he was blind when he was in the G League, with the G League Ignite. I don't know how you don't know that you're blind. You thought that everybody just saw blurry the rim. But now with the goggles that he's wearing, he's shooting better. Anthony's playing well. I don't know what happened to Shaedon Sharpe. He's kind of dropped off a little cliff. They haven't played him that much either. I don't see him on the floor as much. So I don't know if that's them choosing not to or saying, hey, we're going to move you or, San Antonio, I got to give props finally, even though it took 40 games. I'm laughing because, got to give props to Pop. Finally started Trey Jones the last 3-4 games. I mean, it hasn't led to wins, but it's led to better basketball. For Wemby, better looks. Wemby looks like he's getting in a rhythm in the NBA game. Not lost anymore. Knows where to score. Picks his spots. Is attacking the rim. Playing good defense. Blocking almost 3 shots a game. So, shout out Wemby. All right. Now, to get to what we all waiting for. 4 games. 4 games to decide what are our championship Sunday matchups. Starting with Packers 49ers, Saturday at 8:15. At 8:15. So the second game, because Texans Ravens is the next game. I'm going by how ESPN has them in, scheduled, basically. So Packers 49ers, I'm going with the 49ers here, but let's break it down. Is it inconceivable to think that this Packers offense can somehow break down this 49ers defense? No, it's not inconceivable to think that way. But see, the difference between the Cowboys that they just faced as a defense, the Joe Burry defense, and the 49ers offense is that this is not a one-train-led offense. This is a 4-headed monster that even if you limit, and I say limit because you're not going to stop them, even if you limit, let's say you limit CMC, or you limit Ayuk, or you limit Debo, or you limit Kittle, you're not going to limit all of them. You're not going to stop any of them. So you have to really be very judicious about when you pick to blitz, when you pick to run man-to-man, because if you get burned, you'll get burned for 6. It's not going to be a 15-yard gain. It'll be 20, 25. These guys are slippery. They'll make you miss a tackle. They run hard. I think Brock Purdy will play well. I don't think Joe Burry has the same defensive performance that he had last week as the coordinator. Jair Alexander is kind of up in the air if we look at players right now to watch. Now, Jordan Love has his full complement of receivers. He has Christian Watson and everybody. But I believe that essentially this is going to come down to, can Aaron Jones and that Packers offensive line do what they did last week? And I don't think so, because San Francisco's very good against the run. And also Jair didn't practice Wednesday, so they didn't practice yesterday. And they will be without Clelin Ferrell, the D end, with a knee. And that's the 49ers. And but they're getting Eric Armstead back, the 49ers. So I'm going with the 49ers here. Do I expect it to be a blowout? No. I think that Jordan Love is good enough to score points, just not a lot. I don't think it'll be a complete blowout unless Joe Burry's defense just completely just opens the floodgates and, this game is over by halftime or beginning, early stages of the third quarter. But I think San Francisco is just a better team. I think that Brock Purdy is one of the best, he's been playing with some of the best quarterback in the NFL this year. And I think the 49ers are just too much with that Kyle Shanahan scheme. Debo, Trent Williams, and the whole offense. I think they're just too good for this Packers team to stop. It is possible. I'm not saying that they have no chance, but I'm going 49ers at home because of that offense, because of the weaponry. They're not a one-trick pony. And the problem with the Packers is, one thing is limiting a player. The other thing is, if you don't limit the main player, you will get roasted by everybody else, and that's CMC. If CMC has a 150, 100, yards from scrimmage game with a touchdown or two, this game won't be particularly close. That defense is a lot better. That line is a lot better, a lot bigger than Dallas. Nick Bosa, Chase Young, Eric Armstead, Hargrave, they will all get after it. Greenlaw, you got Fred Warner. I mean, everything about this team just says that they're better. So So I'm going with the 49ers. Moving on. Texans, Ravens. Very tough game to call because of, the conditions. They're not going to be favorable for anybody to throw. Although it says it's going to be 28 game time weather, which is, way higher than, the last two games that we called Kansas City and Kansas City last week and the Bills game. But at the same time, I'm going to go Baltimore here. They're at home. Yes, I believe in C.J. Stroud. Yes, I believe in this defense. I believe that this defense is good, not great when we're talking about the Texans. But I think that Lamar has too much. Mark Andrews is coming back, I believe. Let me actually check that right now. The preview is not even up. Okay, so yeah, I believe Mark Andrews is coming back this week and will play. So and even then they still have the young kid tight end that's really good, and Zay Flowers, Bateman, OBJ. It's going to be a running back by committee. Gus Edwards. They just added Dalvin Cook, so that will be interesting. I believe he'll play as well. So that will be very interesting how they use Dalvin. I think they just added him for depth and possible, home run hitting ability. Now that Mitchell's hurt, but I'm going to go Ravens here. I just think that Lamar's too much. I think that he's more comfortable in this offense than he's ever been in the playoffs. I believe that he's going to present some scary problems for this Texans defense when it comes to using his legs. And this offensive line is pretty good. I don't know if they'll run the ball particularly excellent, but I think they'll do just enough to soften up that Texans secondary. And, Zay Flowers, I expect to have a big game. And if Mark Andrews is playing, I expect the first play to go to Mark Andrews and get him going and possibly him have a big game. But OBJ is a sleeper to have a big game, because he always shows up in the playoffs. But I believe the Ravens get this done and move on to the AFC Championship. If the Texans win, I wouldn't say I would be surprised because C.J. Stroud would just show that he's just that good. He is a top 5 quarterback for me right now. I don't think it's really debatable, to be honest. No moment is too big for him. It's going to come down to Marlon Humphrey, trying to cover, in that secondary, trying to cover Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, John Mechie. With no Tank Dell, I think that's where it's going to. This is where not having Tank Dell is going to hurt. Not having another vertical threat. But we'll see. But I'm going with the Ravens at home. Buccaneers, Lions. Very interesting game to call. But I'm going to go with the Lions. Yes, I'm going with the Lions at home in order to go to the NFC Championship. I just think that offense at home plays absolutely amazing. The Buccaneers have a good run defense, so that means that, will Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery get the holes that they got last week? We shall see. But they didn't run particularly a lot last week either, and they still got it done. It's going to come down to the secondary trying to stop Amon-Ra. If Jameson Williams is a big part of this offense, and Laporta, of course, Reynolds. And then can this defense stop Mike Evans and Chris Godwin? They will get thrown on, but I believe Baker Mayfield is not Matthew Stafford, so I don't think that it poses as much of a threat as it was last week. They do have to stop Rashad White, but they stopped Kyron Williams, so that kind of balances out. So I'm going to go with the Lions. I just feel like they have a better roster and a better offense, and being at home at Ford Field in order for a chance to go to the NFC Championship with MCDC, I think that they're going to get over the top. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but it could be. If the Buccaneers win, can I see it? It will be a defensive masterpiece by Todd Bowles if the Buccaneers win. I believe it'll be a defensive masterpiece, maybe a couple picks that Jared Goff gets forced into. mistakes, maybe a pick six, a fumble, Shaq Barrett with a strip sack, or Tryon Sharinka, Levante David, Devin White, somebody making an Antoine Winfield Jr., somebody making a big play that changes the game. And then from there, Baker Mayfield, with a short field or something like that, hits Mike Evans, hits Chris Godwin, because the Lions can tackle. So this is not going to be like the Eagles that couldn't tackle in space. So I believe the Lions will win this one. And then finally, we have the Bills and the Chiefs at Orchard Park for the first time ever. Patrick Mahomes going on the road in a playoff game. And I've been thinking about it, guys, and this is going to come down to the fact that there was so many players hurt for the Bills last week. So I don't know. Like if Bernard is not playing and Taylor Rapp is not playing, Rasul Douglas is not playing, like you're losing a lot of defensive resources for a relatively, not malign, but not explosive offense. But then again, if you're gonna, how do I say this? Like, if you're gonna hope that AJ Klein off the couch is gonna lead your team in tackles again, and then stop Patrick and Rasheed and Travis and just Andy Reid scheming, I don't think that will happen. To be honest. Now, on the other side, Kansas City has to stop Josh Allen. Josh Allen's been playing really well. I believe they're going to put Charvarius Ward on Stephon Diggs and try to forget about him. Buffalo has to either pick that they're going to one-on-one on Rasheed, or they're going to bracket Kelsey. Because if they don't bracket Kelsey, I believe that he'll have a very, very big game. And this game, when it comes to the weather, is going to be kind of like last week. It's good if 20 degrees, but I believe it's going to feel like 9, but that doesn't matter for these quarterbacks. I just feel like, I don't know, guys. I just feel like Mahomes and this defense will get it done. I feel like Chris Jones will have a big impact in this game. Spags will do something to Josh Allen, force him into a mistake. I'm gonna go with Kansas City, just because like all the Bills' defensive injuries, especially at the linebacking core, where most of the Kelsey assignment falls. But I think it'll be a close game. I don't think it'll be a blowout by any means. It's gonna be a ruckus crowd. It's gonna be cold. It's going to come down to the turnover battle. It's going to come down to who can run the ball. Pacheco versus Cooks. And it's going to come down to who doesn't make the mistake, who doesn't go for it on fourth down and fail, who, takes the points when they're there, but who is aggressive at the right time. Also, that first drive is going to be on both halves, of course, but the first drive of the game is going to be extremely crucial to the outcome of this game, because the team that has scored first has won every single game this postseason. So that's going to be extremely crucial. So whoever decides or defers on the football better hope that their defense can stop them and their offense can score, because it has been very decisive. Who scores first wins. But I'm gonna go with the young GOAT. I'm gonna go with Patrick Mahomes to get to another AFC championship. But if the Bills win, I would not be surprised. They're at home. Josh Allen's been playing absolutely his balls off the last 7 weeks. So I would not be surprised if they win. They have Khalil Shakir. I don't know if Gabe Davis is gonna play. Stephon Diggs is there, so is Kincaid. So it's gonna be a balanced offense versus another Andy Reid, try to scheme him up type of endeavor. But I'm gonna go with Mahomes until Mahomes shows me that he cannot perform in the playoffs. I'm a roll with him because I've seen it way too many times. So I'm gonna go with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to go back to the AFC Championship, looking to defend that title. So that's it, guys. We are down to the last 4 games of the season. Technically, the last, if you count next week and the Super Bowl, 7 games left. Really exciting, but also really sad. We're also going to get into some all pros next week. They actually got announced, but I want to go into them in depth, only having to break down 2 games next week, so we can go into the positions and all that. But I appreciate you guys for listening. I appreciate you guys for supporting. I love you guys. God bless, and I leave you with the outro.